Towards the end of 2023, while living in a shabby flat and dealing with a prick landlord, we decided we really needed to take a trip once we moved out. And things might have got a bit out of hand because that trip turned into driving around Europe for 3 months. It wasn't just me. Full-time passenger princess Katie, aka my girlfriend, was also along for the ride too. Usually taunting me, rolling her eyes at me, and sometimes filming me. On this bad boy trip, I was trying to take the kind of pictures that I would put into a book, but it is a process, and that process sometimes involves pictures like this. Also, we want to find out more about the culture and the people, which usually means us drinking cheap wine in various locations. So we loaded the trusty old Seat Ibiza full of camping gear and film. We got the ferry to France and drove the 950 miles to San Sebastian, which, if you're American, is probably the equivalent of driving to your local Walmart.
I think we can be proud of that.
Oh yeah.
Super noodles and broccoli.
With all the seasoning.
It's a good start in San Sebastian.
After setting up camp and having a true feast of broccoli and super noodles, it was pretty much golden hour. So we made our way down to the beach of San Sebastian. This tree shot was kind of inspired by a shot I took in Las Vegas, where I used a lamppost to split the sunlight. It definitely doesn't quite hit the same as the Vegas shot, but maybe those super noodles mess with my funk. Before travelling, I'd kind of decided that I wanted a more automatic camera. So throughout this trip, I was shooting the Nikon F100, and I was mainly using the 35mm and 50mm autofocus lenses. I really prefer being able to shoot intuitively, so having all that autofocus and aperture priority means I can focus on what I'm really good at, taking mediocre photos. After a cold night in the tent, the plan was to walk the hour and a half or so into town. This is one of my favourite things to do in a new city. I'll take a long walk instead of public transport when I can, just so I can find interesting things to shoot along the way. Also, I'm kind of a cheap bastard.
San Sebastian Sarnies.
that it's usually while you're reloading that you see a really good picture. One sweaty daddy. Went down to a vintage shop in San Sebastian, picked up this beautiful shirt that just says Chardonnay all over it. You're gonna see me in it soon.
Do you think this is the height that Brian fell?
What, from here to down there?
Further, I reckon.
Maybe. Yo, lads, Jesus is on the roof. San Sebastian is actually part of the Basque country, which is technically Spain, but they don't really consider themselves Spanish. Kind of like how a lot of Catalonia doesn't consider itself Spanish either. There's a lot of Spain that doesn't really fancy being Spanish. And the San Telmo Museum tells you all about it. I kind of like this shot. I don't think it's great, but it's definitely a part of that creative process of trying to find interesting shots. In that process, sometimes you get a half good picture instead of a fully good one. We're hanging out in the shared zone, aren't we?
That's drinking coffee out of a bowl.
Oh yeah, forgot about that. Drinking coffee out of a bowl. And it's very rainy, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It's horrible weather outside, so we're holding up in here instead of sitting in a wet tent.
Ooh, that
Big in it, huh?
juicy.
Oh. We've become one from with the campsite, haven't we?
We've taken over.
We've got
The only ones.
We've got through the rain. No one else is stupid enough to try and put up with this. Doing alright though, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy. With about 15 miles of walking under our belt, we were pretty much done in San Sebastian and ready to pack up and head to a town called Picos. That's not looking good, bruv. Picos is in the middle of Picos de Europa, which is a bad boy mountain range in the Cantabrian Mountains, and it's got some wild bridges and insane views. Not a bad spot for lunch. You're doing it risky, you are. Through the little bit.
I was going to say.
Las montañas, baby. So once we'd settled in and hand washed some of our clothes, we headed down into the centre of Picos to find some bridges, old cars and donkeys.
cat, a donkey.
Oh, right. It's a donkey. I thought it was a cat.
Hello.
I kind of like this picture as an idea. I don't know if it's a strong composition, but it's cool, you know? Dog, car, interesting building. But there's something that tells me that it's not great. But I quickly forgot all that, because the next day I got farted on by a horse and shot some real bangers. Hey, let's see your legs.
Oh.
The plan for the day was to take a big hike through 2 mountain villages just beneath the snow line, and it did not disappoint.
Feels like maybe not. I mean, what's around there?
Load of cats.
Loads of cats.
Keep going.
After driving through some insanely tight roads in Laves, we found somewhere that seemed semi-reasonable to leave the car. And this was yet another time where all I could think about was bears, and how I'd obviously fight one off and maybe even maim the bear if I had to.
Bollocks. Look at that.
tourist board, that. Oh yeah. Pretty weird looking bears, but I would fight them.
Not a bad spot for lunch, eh, Doc?
Perfect spot.
Just sharing it with a few horses in the mountains.
You're okay. Farting again. I'd describe the pictures of these horses as mainly underwhelming, and I'd say one of the big things is being there in the midday sun. All of that harsh light did me no favours until I got to my last shot of them. And there are a few aspects of this that I love. Obviously, the two horses positioning in the foreground kind of feels really loving and affectionate. Also, after a second look, I love the way that their shape is kind of mountain range-esque. And of course, the star of the show. I mean, I feel like if this horse had a name, he'd be called Bungus. Oh, who's that? Is he okay? Ah, it's just Bungus, don't mind him. All right.
It's alright here. Seen lots of horses. Haven't been attacked by a bear yet. But we're always vigilant. Always ready.
After all that excitement, I thought it couldn't get much better. But then we passed through the village of Pembes on the way back around. As the first part of our European tour, northern Spain was amazing, and we didn't even scratch the surface. The food and drink everywhere is pretty cheap and so good, and the people are absolutely sound. For those that have watched before, you might know that I usually wrap up with a top 5 of my photos from this part of the trip. And basically I base this on how I actually wanted to shoot in the first place, whether these shots kind of accomplish my goal in that respect, and obviously how I feel about them. Generally, I'm trying to achieve a kind of dreamlike, memory-like feel, and kind of try and capture what I think is like the essence of a specific location. But I'm going to go through these quicker than usual, so strap in, buddy. Okay, we're starting from the top. It's number 5. San Sebastian felt like a bit of a warm-up, to be honest, but I'm going to go with this one. I don't think this is quite what I wanted, but it's halfway there. And that leads me on to the next one. It's number 4. I'm going to go with this one, and I was using Katie's shadow by the bridge, and I really love that it adds a new dimension to a sort of typically touristy location. So I think this one's alright. I'm reasonably happy with it. We're getting down to the big boys. It's number 3. It's not perfect, but boy oh boy, do I love these horses. It's getting even quicker. I don't even know what's hit me. We're on number 2. And it's Katie enjoying a cold glass of Sauvignon while trying her best to ignore me. I love this. I think it's a really nice shot in general. I don't think it's one that would go into a book, but it's just got an interesting feel to it. But now it's the one that you've all been waiting for. The picture that I deem less shit than the rest is number 1. And oh my giddy arse, it's this one. I really love this. I was shooting the horses and the owner came out and just stood there. He was like more than happy. He was just chilled. I'm sure he was just like, I've not seen people for a long time. What are you doing near my horses? But there are so many elements to this to me, and it's, you know, you can see the relationship between him and the horses, and I think there's like a lot of depth in the image in general, and I think it's just a pretty good all-round shot. And that is it for the first section of our European tour. There's going to be so many videos from this, but I want to make sure they're just jam-packed with good shit. So I'm going to be releasing the next one very soon, but in between I'm going to be sprinkling some nice tips videos and all those nice kind of things. But to finish off, I'm going to start highlighting photographers that I think are really cool and really interesting. I think it's a really good way for us to get inspired and see things that they do and think, I would love to incorporate a very small element of that into my work, or how did they take that picture, or whatever. I believe that looking at really great photographers' work, whether it's online on a website or on Instagram if you have to, is a really great way to get yourself out of a rut, or just get yourself inspired, feeling like, oh, I really want to make some fun work. So today I'm going to go for someone that I find really inspiring, and just the way that he even posts his photos on Instagram, like as a series, everything he does in that way, just I think it looks really good. Brian Karlsson, or Voyeur1 on Instagram, sees things differently. A lot of his work is just really beautiful, and it's not your bog standard, oh, there's a nice picture. It's stuff that I just find really inspiring. So you should go and check him out, get inspired by him. Maybe you'll find some other photographers by looking at his work as well. Who knows? But that is it this week. I've got loads of stuff from my US travels on my channel. So if there's not any more European videos, why don't you go and check those out? So take care, go and do something different. Maybe take a Latin dance class, or even take a different street on your walk home. Thank you very much.